Honor, honor everyone. Honor to everyone that's watching. Honor to everyone that's joining the chat. Honor to you all. Say welcome, welcome, welcome. May all be well with everyone, with you, your loved ones. May all be well in your day, and hope your day started off well. And I say again, honor to you all. This is Shatabi Ahuakan Media. With that being said, I say peace, love, light to you all. Brother Corey Sly, original Lone Wolf, honors to you guys. We're going to get into it, right? We're touching the stuff they don't like us to touch on. I'm going to drive this shit home to show y'all that COVID-19 is fake. It ain't real. It's fake. All right? It's something bigger at play. Something bigger at foot. A foot is going on here. Okay? So we're going to get into it. Tim Bucks, son of Papoose, honor to you, honor. Brother Alex, honor, brother, honor. Right? Now look, show y'all the spirit knows what the spirit knows, and you just have to go with the spirit, right? From when this thing first started, I was like, this stuff just don't feel right. It feels like it's many things at play here. Why did they wait until election year when Trump is to be reelected to talk about this COVID-19? Why are they shutting down? Why are they shutting down the economy? Why are they illegally restricting travel? Now, pay attention to how they operate. They're not telling you can't go on a plane and travel, right? But when you come back, they're hitting you with a $2,000 fine. That's what they're doing in New York airports, saying that you're bringing back the COVID. Mind you, okay? Other countries in the eastern side of the world only have 2,000 deaths out of 100 or something thousand from their COVID stuff. I think it was in Africa. I got to go back and look. But one of those countries over there, only death rates is only 2,000 from the whole thing started. But New York alone has 35,000. And they're going to tell you that you're bringing back COVID to New York. The cojones on that governor, even when he tells you, you can't go to the beach, we're going to shut down the beaches, while he has a tan. The man had a tan telling you can't go to the beach. And if y'all think that was some kind of fake sprayed on tan, you're bugging. Now, this goes back to eugenics. Okay, eugenics is not just about population control. Eugenics is you're going to see how the entire system, how your everyday life has been manipulated via the way of eugenics. So when they say, oh, you have no reason to be acting like that, or there's no excuse. Look, man, you create a situation and you throw the people in that situation and you make it hard for them. And that changes the perception of reality on those people. Once it changes the perception of reality on those people, it destroys generations to come, because it's a deeply impacted damage, not only psychological, but physical as well. These people know what they're doing. They're altering not only the environment, but the people from this planet, okay, from this world, all right? Just as how they harvest and they rape and reap the planet, the soil, the waters, the air, they do it to you, to your physical body, all right? But they always need an excuse. They have to create the situation to come in like they're trying to solve the situation. Why would I look at you, the hero, when you're the one that created this war? Then you come in like, oh, I can fix it. Oh, my friend's right there. Their company can fix it. Then their friends is like, oh yeah, my friend's over there. Their company too can fix it. And next minute, you know, you're being bombarded. But you started it. You created this situation. You created this war. You created the disease. You created this. And then you're going to come and tell me that you got the cure for something obviously that you created? You put me in this predicament. You did that. But are you 100% to blame? No. Because I didn't have to go along with your fabricated stories. I didn't have to go along with your structural system. I could have just went about living my life freely and independent away from you. But then what happens now when you're living independent away from that source? You're growing your own food. You're right there by the riverbed. You got your clean water. You got all the trees around you, clean air. And then now here you come encroaching on my land, polluting my water, polluting my air, cutting down my trees, all because you have the power of military might on your side. It doesn't mean that it's legal. It just means that you're a bully. That is like a governor telling you one day, just fake like you're sick so your friends could go get tested. And you're like, and no one checks him on it. None of the New York media checked Governor Cuomo when he said that dumb shit, right? I am baffled. Why? Why not? Why did anyone ask him? Why didn't anyone ask him? Why are you telling me to fake like I am sick to go get tested? Why? And I have to thank Sister Nessa for sharing a video with me. I'm going to play the audio from the video, and if I could screen share every now and then, I'll screen share, right? But before we even get into that, I want to get into this audio here, all right? And pay attention, all right, to why they destroy the economy, to why they do the things that they do. You let them control the economy so they could destroy it at any time. But are they really destroying the economy? No, they're just destroying how you operate in the public, but they're gaining and profiting in the private. I understand public and private, okay? But let's play this out right here first. This is from opb.org radio.
I'm Dave Miller. Laws allowing involuntary state-sponsored sterilization were on the books in Oregon from 1917 all the way to 1983. They were part of a broader movement to prevent so-called undesirable individuals from procreating and adding more so-called degenerates to the future gene pool. Mark Brown has done extensive research.
Hold up. At Le Day Pack, where do you work? And if they're telling you to go get tested every week, look, man, you don't. Where do you? Let's start off with where do you work? Where do you work at? Because that testing every week stuff. Ask your job, where's the law that you have to go get tested every week? Ask them, where's that law? Right? Let them show you that law. Nurse at nursing home. Oh, that's because, okay, so there's a story going around that the media is trying to bury, that Governor Cuomo went to a nursing home and infected the entire nursing home, and the elders in that nursing home started dying, and it spread. It started from him, the New York governor himself, and no one is questioning him about it, right? So this is why they started making these regulations that you have to go get tested every week at the nursing homes. Okay, now my thing is this: they didn't tell people to social distance when HIV was on the rise. They weren't telling people that. They didn't make people social distance. They weren't force testing people. They didn't set up testing sites, right? They didn't do it for herpes. They didn't do it for none of these things. But here you are doing it for coronavirus 2019, something that supposedly happened last year that you just introduced to the public this year, a whole year later, 2020, and then they're telling you to go get tested every week. You see, it's kind of tricky now when it comes to hospitals and nursing homes, right? Because, again, how to explain it? They can always use the loophole that they're worried about the health of all the other patients, and they can also make that a guideline on their job, right? For those facilities that chances are a lot of places would uphold that you follow it because they're going to say that you're putting the health of their clients at risk. Okay, but you can ask for the law that says that you have to do that, right? There is no law. There is no law there. And you can tell them that you're reserving all your rights. If they're giving you documentations to fill out, you're reserving all your rights. If you're going to go get tested, bring a disclaimer that they have to disclose to you everything. Like, what are you testing me for? What is the test about? What are you going to do with my DNA? Let them tell you everything that if they can't tell you that, then you don't go get tested. Your DNA is your property. That's your private property that you're handing over to the public, right? There's many things, man. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you can fill out the a tort claim. You can file a tort against them, against your job. That's another thing that you could do. Okay. Lien on their bond. Your job has an indemnity bond. You can lien on that. There's many things that you could do. And then you can pull up the OSHA guidelines to say if OSHA requires for you to go get tested every week. But the loophole that they're using is what they're calling this pandemic. There's a loophole that will make it be able for them to suspend the Constitution and suspend these things. But truthfully, they could never really suspend the Constitution unless people voluntarily give up their rights and not challenge the illegal acts that they're doing. Right? So, yeah. But let's get back into this audio.
Laws allowing involuntary state-sponsored sterilization were on the books in Oregon from 1917 all the way to 1983. They were part of a broader movement to prevent so-called undesirable individuals from procreating and adding more so-called degenerates to the future gene pool. Mark Brown has done extensive research on this topic. In his day job, he is the Chief Deputy Defender for the Oregon Office of Public Defense Services. He is speaking about the history of eugenics in Oregon at a free event at the McMinimans Kennedy School in Portland tonight at 7 p.m. And he joins us now with a preview. Mark Brown, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
When did eugenics, the eugenics movement, really start to take shape in Oregon?
In Oregon, I would say around 1909, the ball started rolling. And then the first eugenics law was put on the books in 1917. So that's really the period of time when the movement was taking shape.
What was the context for it at that time? What was going on and what led to it?
The context, was multifold, really. There was an influx of immigrants from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. There was a concern that they were diluting the gene pool, the more Northern European gene pool, because much of the middle class, upper class, the birth rate was going down, and they were seeing these immigrants who were having many children, so concerned that the numbers were disappearing. There was also depressions going on at the time. There was a series of economic upheavals at that time, and people were blaming the immigrants for that. And the Russian Revolution was percolating. And there was concern that the Eastern Europeans were bringing, and Italians also were bringing, that kind of radicalism to this country.
So
Eastern Europeans, the Italians, those are people that has Negro blood in them, okay? So these are the ones whom are fertile, right? And then the more Northern Europeans are, the blonde hair, blue eye, those type, the ones that only for years kept it in the family by intermixing back within their same bloodline, right? Thus, they don't procreate like everybody else normally do and produce children like everyone else normally do. A lot of them can't produce children anymore. Okay, so when they're talking about that, this is when they're talking about the influx of immigration. They're talking about Negroes or folks mixed with Negro blood. All right, and they had to try to lower their numbers because they were outnumbering the folks in Portland, Oregon. Now, what about the Negroes that was there before immigration, before these foreigners started immigrating to Portland? What about those Negroes that was already there, the rightful American Indians? Now you're understanding how when they're telling you that there's more of them than you, you're seeing what they use: eugenics. They use eugenics for many things: to destroy an economy and rebuild it back in how they want it to be. They use eugenics to population control, right? To target certain demographics or ethnic groups of whom population they want to control. They use eugenics for DNA harvesting to fix the imperfections within their people's DNA, right? They use eugenics to contaminate those whom DNA they want to contaminate for those whom they don't want to procreate, right? Eugenics is also used that every 50 years they know that the number of Negroes raises, your numbers grow, so they have to come up with a master plan every 50 to 60 years or so to lower your numbers. Okay, depopulation. Bill Gates advocate for depopulation every year, even up until this year of 2020, and folks are still riding with him. I don't get it. How could you? Here's a man that wants to depopulate the earth, and you think he's going to give you a fucking vaccine to save your life, huh? Here's a man that wants to kill at least 3 billion people. His numbers, not mine. And you think he's going to give you a vaccine to save your life. Let's keep going.
Let's turn to that 1917 law, the first iteration of a law allowing state-sponsored sterilization of various kinds. According to that law, a state eugenics board had to review quarterly reports of all, quote, feeble-minded, insane, epileptic, habitual criminals, moral degenerates.
Let me read this off. So, Sister Tracy put, whoa, that would explain their breeding program displayed at the World's Fairs during what they called the Tartarian age of so-called white people. Now, just see, this is also to show you that you are the number one target of theirs. And you heard me speak on the plasma, right? So that's how I'm appreciative of Sister Nessa that shared the other video that I'm about to play the recordings for y'all. Because they touched on the plasma a great deal, very extensively to be exact. You see, even the very word Tartarian means Negro, means dark. So it is you. You are the harvest. You are the goose that laid the golden egg, that liquid gold. That is you. This is why they want to intermix with you. Some of them want to intermix. Some of them don't even want to touch you. They just want to kill you and take what you have inside of you. That's it. All right? This is eugenics. But at the same time, they need to control your population. They can't have you growing in too much numbers. This is why they experiments always start off in the islands first. Why is your blood more profitable? Why is your blood more valuable? Because you're the ones that pretty much came from more organic, natural, holistic environments. Especially if your lands are close by also islands as well. And if you're from the islands, you are eating from the land. Your produce is coming over from the islands. This is why that dust storm that y'all thought came from Africa I don't know how the hell people thought a dust storm could leave all the way from Africa and come all the way into the Americas. Water is a filter. Water is a natural filter. Water filters dust out the air. That dust storm would have depleted to nothing before it even got halfway to the Americas. That's not a normal dust storm. They released a swarm. They do everything biblical. They released a swarm of locusts in the Caribbean and in South America to destroy the crops. And now you see farmers coming out showing locusts all over their crops now in South America because they can't have you eating natural from the land. They need you to buy the fake food that Bill Gates also invested in. Fake meat, GMO foods. You heard him. You heard him speak on these things. Say they got to get rid of the organic. The other day I was talking about a pineapple I had. I cut into the pine. I saw no seeds. I threw that shit away. No seeds. That was my first time ever cutting into a pineapple and not seeing any seeds. Not one seed. Pineapples are filled with seeds. What? These food that you're now eating, these fruits with no seeds, these veggies, these things have human DNA now inside of them. So one way or the other, God damn it, they're going to make you sick. Because you have other ethnic groups out there that's just fucking sickly. That's just how they are. And you got other ethnic groups out there that got a stronger immune system. So they're the least to get sick. Okay? So one has to harvest from the other to survive. Let's play this out. Let's back it up and we're going to play it out now.
Laws allowing involuntary state-sponsored sterilization were on the books in Oregon from 1917 all the way to 1983. They were part...
Alex, nah, I can't agree with you with that one. Pineapple, I have a portions of seeds that I took out of pineapples over the past couple of years. The seeds are very tiny, very small seeds and black, very small. Everything has a seed, bro. Even down to even potatoes have seeds. I've harvested potato seeds from when I grow my own potatoes in the backyard. When the potato plant grows and you don't cut it, because people cut the stems of the potato plants, the leaves and stuff. You can cook that and you can eat it, but it grows a little berry on the top of the potato, right? Sometimes I experiment. I like to grow everything out. And it has a little berry that it grows on the top of the potato that look like it's growing a potato itself. When you cut that berry open, it's chock filled with seeds. All right? It's filled with seeds. Pineapples have seeds. They're very, very small. You have to use like a tweezer to pluck them out. And they're mostly at the top of the pine. When you cut it, when you cut the very top and you flip it, you see the seeds filled up in it. This is my first time cutting a pineapple and not seeing a seed, brother. I'm telling you, oh my goodness. My first time. Everything in life has to have a seed to grow. It has to. You need to really, you have to be able to put a seed in the soil to produce something. That's the natural order. You gotta, you and your woman and you gotta plant something to grow something, So yeah.
Part of a broader movement to prevent so-called undesirable individuals from procreating and adding more so-called degenerates to the future gene pool. Mark Brown has done extensive research on this topic. In his day job, he is the Chief Deputy Defender for the Oregon Office of Public Defense Services. He is speaking about the history of eugenics in Oregon at a free event at the McMenamins Kennedy School in Portland tonight at 7 p.m. And he joins us now with a preview. Mark Brown, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
When did the eugenics movement, really start to take shape in Oregon?
In Oregon, I would say around 1909, the ball started rolling. And then the first eugenics law was put on the books in 1917. So that's really the period of time when the movement was taking shape.
What was the context for it at that time? What was going on and what led to it?
The context, was multifold, really. There was an influx of immigrants from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. There was a concern that they were diluting the gene pool, the more Northern European gene pool, because much of the middle class, upper class, the birth rate was going down, and they were seeing these immigrants who were having many children, so concerned that the numbers were disappearing. There was also depressions going on at the time. There was a series of economic upheavals at that time, and people were blaming the immigrants for that. And the Russian Revolution was percolating, and there was concern that the Eastern Europeans were bringing, and Italians also were bringing, that kind of radicalism to this country.
So let's turn to that 1917 law, the first iteration of a law allowing state-sponsored sterilization of various kinds. According to that law, a state eugenics board had to review quarterly reports of all, quote, feeble-minded, insane, epileptic, habitual criminals, moral degenerates, and sexual perverts. There are a lot of pretty subjective categories on that list. How did the law actually work in practice?
The law worked in practice. It seems that they were able to target whomever they wanted. One of the primary targets were homosexuals, an effort to stop that from occurring. There was apparently some vice scandals that went on at that time in Portland, and I'm not that familiar with them, but there's references to them in some of the articles, and that was the moral degenerates. They would also target inmates and people who were mental deficient, as they were called at that time, were in the mental hospital.
And how would they decide? I mean, habitual criminals is another category there. I mean, so who was targeted in terms of inmates?
Well, I mean, the statute specifically said those defined habitual criminals as those who have been convicted 3 or more times of a felony in the courts of any state and sentenced to serve in the penitentiary thereof. So it was basically, if you committed a crime if you were convicted 3 times, you could be eligible.
3 strikes and you could have.
I told y'all. Bill Clinton hit y'all with the 3-strike rule. Now you know where it's coming from. Huh? 3 strikes. You can't make this stuff up. Can't make it up. So now I tell you that your politicians, your governors, your mayors, Bill Clinton was a Democrat. The Democratic Party is the #1 pusher for eugenics, population control, blood harvesting, genetic harvesting, you name it. They're the #1 pusher for it. Okay? Energy harvesting of you. This is not a game here. It's not make-believe. This isn't, he's just guessing. No. 3 strikes. Now let's see who created the 3 strikes law. God damn it. Who? Oh, it wants to move slow now. Bill Clinton 3 strikes. Look. Hey, I'm signing the bill and everything. Look at this. Yo, you can't make this stuff up, man. You cannot make this stuff up. I look at his boy backing it. Who's that? Is that Barack? Is that Barack backing it? That was Barack. And who's the person getting rid of it now? Trump is getting rid of that shit. Barack backed that shit. Best believe. He didn't do shit to stop it, to repeal it, none of that. No, he did not. Y'all better open your eyes and wake up. And you know who wrote that law? Hillary Clinton wrote it. She's a lawyer. She wrote it, and Bill signed off on it. Okay? And that is a part of eugenics, because remember, eugenics also deals with who is more predominantly mass incarcerated. And whoever is predominantly more mass incarcerated, then that is whom they deem undesirable and sterilize. So imagine how many brothers and sisters that got sterilized in prison. So when you're hearing about the hospitals on the ground beneath the prisons that they experiment on, and folks like, that's conspiracy. It's not conspiracy. It's true. A lot of folks go into those hospitals underneath the goddamn prison and don't come back out. Some of them, when they come back out, they're not the same. Let me rewind and come again with this shit for y'all. Is it possible? Is it possible to rewind and come again? Yes, it is.
The law worked in practice. It seems that they were able to target whomever they wanted. One of the primary targets were homosexuals. An effort to stop that from occurring. There was apparently some vice scandals that went on at that time in Portland, and I'm not that familiar with them, but there's references to them in some of the articles, and that was the moral degenerates. They would also target inmates and people who were mental deficient, as they were called at that time, were in the mental hospital.
And how would they decide? I mean, habitual criminals is another category there. I mean, so who was targeted in terms of inmates?
Well, I mean, the statute specifically said those defined habitual criminals as those who have been convicted 3 or more times of a felony in the courts of any state and sentenced to serve in the penitentiary thereof. So it was basically, if you committed a crime if you were convicted 3 times, you could be eligible. 3 strikes and you could have a vasectomy or be castrated or a hysterectomy or some other version
Vaccinated.
Of sterilization.
Right. And I guess it was this idea that you wouldn't pass on the criminal gene. At that time, there was an understanding of hereditary procedure, how it worked through genetics.
Now, you have the criminals, right? See, now people, you have to understand what a crime is to become a criminal. To be a criminal, you have to rob somebody. You have to cause harm, injury, physical harm, injury to someone. Meaning you have to have murdered someone, raped someone, beat someone up, destroy someone's property. Majority of the brothers and sisters in prison are in there for non-violent offenses, meaning they are not criminals, meaning that they had some business in one way, shape, or form that the IRS couldn't fucking tax. So they sent them to prison because they couldn't tax them on their business. Okay? You sold weed? Goddamn it, it's a business. You were selling the shit from your basement? Did you trademark and patent your business? Did you go ahead and got an EIN number for that shit? No, you didn't. So the IRS couldn't get no money from it. So they locked you up because of that. They couldn't get into your bankroll so that they can monitor how much of a profit you can make, how wealthy you can become. Oh. You go driving down the street, you didn't have a license on you, but you're not operating in a business capacity. So you don't need a license to travel in your private conveyance from point A to point B. There's no law that says you need a license for that. What is the DMV? The DMV is a private corporation contracted with another private corporation that they call the police department. They're a private security company. Wake up. The only lawman is your sheriff. So when these folks go out there and issue tickets and make arrests for nonviolent incidences, they label you as a criminal, wrongfully classifying you. Let's keep going.
But not that great. So there wasn't a distinguishing between nature. If you
Back it
committed
up.
a crime if you were convicted 3 times, you could be eligible.
3 strikes and you could have a vasectomy or be castrated or a hysterectomy or some other version of sterilization.
Right. And I guess it was this idea that you wouldn't pass on the criminal gene. At that time, there was an understanding of heredity.
Mind you, these are the descendants of the people that invaded you, colonized you, enslaved, raped, tortured your people. Not only did they do it to you, they did it to each other, and they have the nerve to come and say that they're trying to take out the criminal gene over something that they made up. Over 90% of what they call criminal activities are not criminal. They just made shit up so that they could have an advantage to F with you. Whoa. That's it. And these are the same people that you let come and give you a freaking DNA test for Ancestry.com and AfricanDNA.com. That's African Ancestry? Huh? These are the same people that's going around to the islands telling folks to do their DNA test and sending them into Africa genetic-wise so that they could come and also steal their land. Because now they're going to get you to say, oh, my DNA test said I came from Africa, so that's where I'm from. So this is not my home. Then you just renounced your home. You just vacated your house. And the next man could come in and said, well, abandoned property, they vacated the premises. I now claim this property. I fill out this vacant application form. And then take your shit while acting as if they are you. Get hip to the game. Okay? I see that they're booting people out the live. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Let's keep going.
Hereditary procedure, how it worked through genetics, but not that great. So there wasn't a distinguishing between nature and nurture. So they figured, if your grandfather was a criminal, your father was a criminal, you're a criminal, it must be genetic. And therefore.
Now you have to pay attention to the words that they use, okay? You see, remember when we was going through the etymology book, and we was looking up nature and hereditary and hereditament, and we was going through the Bouvier 1856 Bouvier law book. This is just within this week and last week. Now, when they talk about heredity, right, they're talking about the land. When they talk about nature and nurture, there's no difference between nature and nurture. We are from the American soil. This is the hemisphere in which we, as the original Americans, manifested from. This is where we came from. So the very genetics of the soil of this hemisphere is within our blood. So we have our ancestors passed down this property, this land, this hemisphere to us. So we inherited it. All right. This is our hereditament. All right. Our heredity. Okay. So this is the code talk. And so now you're getting to understand double speech when these politicians is talking. You see, for years you didn't know what it was because it was just something that these secret societies taught each other. But now for those who are autodidacted, self-educated, right? You come to understand a great many things of how this language system works. So when they're talking about heredity and nature, they're literally talking about the land itself. So this is why you see them burning down everything that is natural to create everything that is GMO to still poison you one way or the other. They're going to continue to poison you until you get rid of them off of your land, or you put them in check in one way, shape, or form or the other. Okay? So, Flo, when you say that, I think I'm woke. No, brother, you're just... I'm going to leave that alone. But anyway, so yeah. This is what it is. This is what's been going on for years. And they sent you back to Africa. Now, I've been looking at some information the other day, even with the whole African slaves being here. Look, man, coming up into the 1700s, they started reclassifying you as Africans because they understood that you inherited the natural inheritance of the land belonged to you. So they had to throw you off of the land. and they threw you off of the land through paperwork and through re-education facilities, what you call the church, what you call religion, okay? To throw your ass over into Africa, right? So when you hear some people say, no, my grandmother is African, that's what they think. That's how deeply they messed with the documentations of here. Eugenics. Let's keep going.
Therefore, if you stop the gene line, then you would not have criminals in the future.
What kind of due process was there? I mean, that to undergird this, the medical process.
And that was the reason why the 1917 law was held unconstitutional in 1923, because there wasn't due process. There was a statement that it could be appealed to a circuit court, Marion County Circuit Court, but there was no process involved. So the court said, there's really no due process here because there's no explanation how you appeal that. And so that was the fatal flaw, or one of the fatal flaws that the court found in 1917. When the legislature passed the 1923 eugenics or state sterilization bill, they resolved that by allowing for an appeal. In fact, in that one, originally it was you had to have a court order. So the board would actually make a recommendation to the court, and then the court had to issue an order.
In practice, I mean, did that actually give all of these people a real way to argue their way out of an unwanted vasectomy or castration?
It probably didn't give them a way to challenge that, primarily because A, they probably didn't know that the procedure existed, and B, some of them actually were okay with it. They gave their consent, or they presumed to give their consent. Now, at one time, the governor said, I will release anyone who agrees to get sterilized. And so that was viewed as a voluntary decision.
That can never be voluntary. That's coercion. You kidnapped me. You locked me up against my will. You're torturing me. And then you're going to tell me the only way I can be released from the hellhole that you put me in, the everyday torture that you put me through, is if I agree for you to snip and give me a vasectomy. Really? And that's voluntary? Does that sound voluntary to you? That's like it's no different from what these governors are doing. Oh, well, you don't want to wear the mask. We're going to keep finding these businesses. You don't want to wear the mask. We're going to have the police, the policy officers arrest you and lock you up, send you to jail, even though we know it's illegal. What we're doing is against the law. We're not supposed to be doing this, but we're going to do it anyway. Oh, well, how are we going to keep it on the wraps? Well, you from that state, you can no longer come to this state because we shut it down. Now, if you are traveling from one state to the next and you don't see no National Guard, no military there telling you that you cannot come into that state, well, if you see highway patrol, highway troopers, state troopers there, they cannot stop you from going into that state. There is no law, none. They are violating the law when they do that. They are violating the Constitution when they do that. Only way that can be done is if it's martial law and they have to have the National Guards there. And if you are not of the jurisdiction of the state, the city, the United States Incorporated, if you are not a citizen and you are an indigenous person, okay, of the Americas, they cannot tell you that you can't travel from point A to point B. It could be World War X happening right here, and all the countries in the world is dropping bombs on your block, and you decide you wanted to go to the next block. They can't tell you can't go to the next block, and the military is supposed to be there so the police don't violate you, so that you get let through. All right. So when you see them doing that, everything that they've been doing is illegal. Now, what they did in New York, the governor passed a bill stating that the doctors and the hospitals are immune from any form of prosecution or lawsuits. But mind you, the federal government passed the Coronavirus Act that says that agents of the agency can be prosecuted, sued, and have criminal charges pressed against them for any damages that you have occurred from the coronavirus pandemic going on. Now, why would the federal government make such a law? Why? because the shit is fake. They're murdering people on those ventilators. They're wrongfully diagnosing you because they get paid more money for everyone that they claim has COVID. How many family members could afford to get an independent mortician to come out, an independent person to come out and examine back their loved one bodies to make sure that the hospital was telling the truth? It's not a lot of y'all could do it. It's not a lot of y'all could do it. So they're going to label COVID on your family member. Your family member didn't even die of COVID. Okay? Now this gives them the excuse. Look, well, the death rate is skyrocketed, so now we have to shut down the businesses again. You can't go to the beach, but mind you, while he's telling you can't go to the beach, he has a tan. He just came from the beach. You can't go to the barbershop, but he has a fresh cut. Look at his sides. His sides is taped up nice and neat. Well, you got to wear your mask, but his entire staff ain't wearing no mask. And you fall for it. You fell for it every time. Not true, bro. In this war, they want to rule us and kill us all. Mass murder called. They're already mass murdering you over the years. They already do it, and they are ruling you. So it's not that they want to. They are. They are ruling you. They already are. They are mass murdering you. It's not that they want to do it. They are doing it. Okay? Now, this corona thing gave them an excuse to shut down the archival records so that you can't go into them because they realize, oh shit, a lot of them now is going into the records to go check to see who they truly are, and they've shut it down. So you can't even go into the libraries anymore. When have you ever seen that? When have you ever been into a library and people are sitting directly right next to each other? People are always spaced out in libraries. So for them to shut down the library, I was like, God damn, this shit ain't make no sense to me. They shut down the county clerk's offices in a lot of states, the halls of records. The Library of Congress is shut down. Jamaica claims that they shut down their halls of records, but they have a cashier and security guard still down there so that you can make in your orders online, but you got to go in person to pay for the shit. They don't want you accessing the records anymore. This is the shutdown because, like I told you guys, every 50 years to 100 years, they do a reset. This is the reset that's going on. This is how they always change history. This is how they change the records. And you have to keep on their necks. If you're not going to do that, be prepared to go down there one day. You can't even find your family history, or you're going to see a whole bunch of pale faces in your family history and a bunch of redacted statements. Redact, 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 redact. And you don't even know what they said because they put a blotch over that shit. This is a massive land grab by the foreigners that has come here. Remember, Obama brought in over 78,000 Syrians when he was in office through the ports of New Orleans. Are we going to ignore that? These people don't want to go back home. So they want what you have here. And they realize, oh, you've been dummied down so much you don't even realize that you are the original people of this land. But you fell for the Ivan Van Sertima stupidity. When Africans came here, they brought all these big ass stones and elephants with them. Are you really? Really? We're in the middle of a reset. There's many things going on at play here. There's a massive reset going on. And until you keep your foot on their necks about your genealogical records, they're going to start tampering with the records because they're trying to bring in the blood quantum thing because you have these fake Native Americans that aren't original people of the land, still to this very day, that inbred with each other over the years, intermix only within themselves. right? That still has the colonizer blood 100%. We ain't talking about the ones on the reservation that knows that they're from the American Negro. We're talking about the ones that run that shit. Okay? Here's who we're talking about. They're bringing in the blood quantum thing, the whole Taino Foundation, all of that blood quantum, where they're the ones that created the DNA system. And when you ran in to go do your ancestry DNA test, they sent your ass to Africa because they want your land. Okay? The very same descendants of the very same colonizers that came to colonize your ancestors. It's telling you about your blood. Huh? This is it. How do you let the children of the colonizer create a DNA test and tell you where the fuck you came from? When you could just simply have went into the archival records and dug through the paperwork, and you see that your ancestors left a paper trail, goddamn it, 10 million miles long for you to know who you are, and it doesn't go back to no goddamn. Not even the Africans come from Africa. You ever heard an African origin story? They always say, well, we migrated. They tell you they migrated. They migrated there. Y'all sit there, y'all in awe of Egypt and those skeletons, those mummies that they have deteriorating in front of you is what they stole from the tombs of the Americas. Wake up before it's too late. Because you're borderline in being too late right now. Okay? Let's keep going.
I mean, release from prison.
From prison.
If you
Paroled
submit
from prison
to be sterilized, you can get out of jail.
Right. Get out of
prison.
jail card, well, not for free, but, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was deemed to be voluntary. I think today we would say it was not voluntarily given.
If you're just tuning in, I'm talking right now with Mark Brown, Chief Deputy Defender for the Oregon Office of Public Defense Services. We're talking about the history of the eugenics movement and forced sterilizations in Oregon. One of the key figures in this history.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, D-Boy. Like, once you start looking through the genealogy, the paperwork, you'll see that everyone that stated a claim, all these foreigners that stated claims to this land, their claims are invalid, and your claim is the one that's validated, right? So anything that they claimed has to be rightfully turned back over to you. You think they want to do that? They don't want to do that. Look at the Dutch, the Amish, and them up in Texas, all up in Texas and in the Houston areas and all these different areas of Texas, chopping down crazy amount of trees, talk about their homesteading, huh? Just taking hundreds of thousands of acres of land. They got to turn all that shit over. Once you realize, oh shit, this is my ancestral land, all that has to be turned back over. You think they're trying to do that? They're not trying to do that. So, nigga, did you do your ancestry DNA test? Yeah. You came from Africa. Then you hear the creators of the African ancestry DNA test laughing and how it's fake and all of that. And yeah. Just tell Oprah she came from Africa. And y'all thinking that they're joking. They're not joking. They're serious. That's how when Morgan Freeman was there, he let them know he was I think it was Choctaw Indian. Then the man sat there and tried to tell him that his DNA test showed that he came from Africa. And Morgan Freeman doesn't know that he did his genealogy, so he got the documentations. He has his ancestors' pictures. He has his ancestors on what they call it, John Hancock, the signature on documentations, letters from his ancestors, all that shit. So he know that DNA shit is fake, but it's Hollywood, so he has to play along. Let's keep going.
history is a woman named Bethenia Owens Adair. And she argued that forced sterilization wasn't just good for the community at large, but potentially for the individuals themselves who were being sterilized. What was her argument why this is good for those individuals?
I mean, she's a fascinating character in this because she was probably the first female practicing physician in the Northwest. And she was a progressive. She was a strong supporter of women's rights, women's right to vote, but she was also a strong supporter of eugenics. Her belief was that individuals who have these problems, sexual deviants, among others, habitual criminals, we have to keep them locked away because if we don't, they will just have too many children. Those children will then become wards of the state. So if we sterilize them, then we solved two problems. One, we don't have the wards of the state anymore. And two,
everyone that's a citizen is a ward of the state. Do you know what made you a ward of the state? When you were born in their hospital. This is why they started cutting out the midwives, right? When you're home births. That's why a lot of the artists, if you notice at one time, a lot of celebrities was doing home births. And people didn't know why. They thought, oh yeah, they just want to go natural. No, they didn't want their child to be in that contract, that blood contract that they signed. They didn't want their child, the soul of their child, to be harvested by the Vatican. The soul of the feet, when they do dip the baby foot in ink, put it on that paperwork, that goes straight to the Vatican in their catacombs. All right, that means you are ward of the state. When your mother signed that birth certificate, she signed you over to the state right there at birth, signed a contract on your behalf. Now, is it valid? No, it's not valid. But how many people out there actually knows this? Not many, right? You were a baby. How could you be contracted with the state? How could you, a newborn, be contracted with the state? Right? So that's unlawful. But because now you started claiming that all capital name, okay, it made you a ward of the state, meaning under their jurisdiction. Now you're seeing why these governors and mayors are doing what they're doing and why these policy officers beat the shit out of you, because you're wards of the state, your state property. So the state is your mommy and your daddy. Okay?
We don't have to keep individuals locked up. They can be out in society again. So it was actually a progressive movement at that time.
How much was this movement tied to the progressive movement more broadly? I mean, was it just Dr. Owens Adair, or were there real connections between progressives at the time and forced sterilization?
It was very much connected to that period of time. Again, the idea being that we can get people out of this imprisonment or state hospital. So it was seen as a way to let people live better lives. It was also in that there's very clear connection early on between the pro-choice movement at that time, which was just kind of getting underway, the right to family planning, and the sterilization movement.
That seems odd. I mean, given that, the pro-choice movement, as we know it today, is as the name implies, is all about autonomy and personal choice over one's reproductive decision-making, which sounds very...
At the landlords, Chief Ledger, exactly. This is socialism. This is Marxism. This is Nazism. This is what this whole thing is about. All right? So if you guys aren't seeing it, I really hope that you guys are taking heed to what I'm saying and go research these things, and you'll see for yourself, right? Then go look into who pushed eugenics a great deal, because even though it says, what's her name, Margaret Sanger or that whatever, created eugenics, she didn't really create it, right? It's something that's been around for centuries. Only thing she did was just bring it back to the forefront, and she figured out a way of how to capitalize on the shit, and that's what she did to better off what they were called at the time the white race, okay? And that's through Marxism, socialism. This is why they social distancing. Keep your social distance 6 feet apart. Now you're 6 feet apart from the person in front of you. The person behind you 6 feet apart. That's 6'6". You're in the dead state. So you see when they be throwing those 3 6s, that means that's the underworld. That's the dead state. So you have to go into the underworld, pull yourself up from the underworld, and bring yourself back into the state of living, that 9 position. Bring you back up to the state of living, that 7, which is the creation of man. Bring yourself back up to the state of living, that natural state, natural born. Back to your hereditament, your heredity, your birthright, becoming that heir. Okay?
It's very different from forced sterilization, the state saying, no matter what you do, you cannot and will not have children. They seem directly at odds.
Because a progressive movement at that time was an elite movement. I mean, it was the middle class and upper class who, for that group, family planning was good. But they kind of viewed that family planning was only going to be used for that group, and that those quote unquote undesirables would continue to reproduce at the high rates they were.
So, I mean, and in other words, we know best what's good for ourselves, and we certainly know what's best for all of you.
Exactly. I mean, that was the point at that time.
There was some organized opposition to this. It was called the Oregon Anti-Sterilization League. How successful were they?
Well, they were successful in that there was a 1913 law that was passed and signed by the governor, and they brought a referendum to get that law struck down, and it was. In fact, they won that. Another interesting twist to this is the Anti-Sterilization League was tied to the Anti-Vaccination League, and the person who kind of ran the referendum here was a leader in the Anti-Vaccination League. Again, it ties to their belief that they didn't trust medicine, and so they didn't trust the people who are saying this is best for everyone. They pointed to Australia and Virginia, interestingly, which were both penal colonies. And they said, hey, if this stuff is hereditary, then why in Australia do we have all of these, respected citizens now?
People who were descended from criminals, but now in different social circumstances, they have a functional society that's not full of criminality.
Right, so they use that as an example of, no, you're wrong.
But it is a society full of criminals because you're living on the theft of someone else's land. You're living off of the fact that your great-great-grandfather came and genocide the original people of said land, right? So that you can have the privilege of living on these people's land. So you're living on stolen land. Then the inheritance that you have is not yours. It's stolen from these people. So you're living on stolen inheritance. So you're a criminal. You're an accomplice. Oh, but that was my great-great-grandfather. But you know the history. I don't see you trying to make right. And instead of you make right, you're pushing this eugenics agenda. Now they have images, like I said, of Caucasian people talk about save indigenous Caucasians. Where? Not here in the Americas. You're not indigenous to the Americas. Not here. Not in Australia. You're not indigenous to Australia. That's a fact. But this is how they do it. This is how it's a reset. This is how they do the replacement. Now in Australia, when you type in Aboriginals of Australia, you see a whole bunch of pale faces or, the intermixing of the children pop up. And the darker view ones they're doing the hiding them in a closet thing now. Okay? So it's crazy. 7 is supposed to be the creation of man. 1 is supposed to be like the first man. 9 is supposed to be like back that conscious state, that state of living. You see, like how they talk about the whole pineal gland and how it's supposed to shake. But when you look at plants, flowers, when they're coming up into the state of living, a plant it's always shaped like a 9 in its beginning stages before that first flower open up. Okay, and when that first flower open up, it's like a L. It looks like an L. You have to really pay attention to nature, which that L you could take to be a 7. All right. So it's pretty much like creation numbers, really. All right, let's continue.
On this hereditary kind of criminality gene.
The flip side of the forced sterilization of so-called undesirables was a celebration of the winners. I mean, all this should be in quotes if you can't hear it in my voice. The winners of the genetic lottery, which I think is really epitomized by the best baby contest that happened in Oregon and I guess other places in the teens and the 20s. Can you describe this contest?
Right. And first there was like 2 different lines of genetics, or eugenics rather. There was the positive eugenics, which encouraged the fittest to have more children and look at their family histories and choosing a mate. Then there was a negative eugenics, which was culling the worst of the breeding population. Now, the negative eugenics was pretty much a sterilization that we talk about, also Nazi Germany. The positive was this part of the best babies movement contests. So in Oregon, we had best baby contests, and they'd be part of the state fair. So each county would have like a best baby contest, and they'd send the winners to the state fair. And so, you go to the state fair, you go to the cow barn, you see the best cow, blue ribbon. They would have the eugenics pavilion or the eugenics tent, which had these baby contests.
And I mean, was it?
Now you hear them talking about the state fair, right? Sister Tracy was mentioning that earlier, though, about the fair. But in 1904, they had a St. Louis fair in 1904. That was a human exhibit, the human zoo, where they had Filipinos, they had American Indians, which are whom they call Negroes, Black, African American, right? Today, they had folks from Africa. They had Polynesians and their children all in that human zoo. That was the 1904 St. Louis Fair. Okay, on display. So they talk about the better baby contest. Right? In a fair, still, nothing has really changed. The only thing is they understand how to take your plasma and pump into their child with a birth defect to increase their chances of survival and to increase their stamina and their everything inside of them to improve their genetics. Okay?
Did they have calipers to mention head size and to measure people? And I mean, how?
Now, pay attention, because I don't want you to think this is like a black and white thing. Because on the Eastern Hemisphere, what they now call the East, they have a greater number of birth defects naturally than we do here in the Americas. Okay? And the birth defects that comes here in the Americas is because they polluted our lands, our water, our air. They inject us with with pollutions in these vaccines, mercury, these things that cause birth defects. They naturally have a shitload of birth defects over there. Okay, so when they found us here and they realized our genetics of how it is because of how rich our land is, the soil is, and that we were eating good, and that is something that's passed down through ancestry from your ancestors to you, your heredity, okay? Your genetics has been passed down. This is why they won't leave from here. They're not going to leave. They won't leave, and that means your folks who you call your Africans, your Middle Easterners, so on and so of people of all different creed and complexions. Okay, understand what's going on.
How do you decide who's the best baby?
They measured head size and body size and ratio.
So it really is like best heifer, or best goat, best apple pie.
I'd like to imagine that you'd walk into the tent and like with the cows, they'd all be lined up. I don't think that was the case. I think it was, doctors were doing the investigations, the evaluations. But yeah, it was very similar. And there would be the best baby would be chosen. And the eugenics pavilion was also about science. It was also about raising your child through science, which was part of this movement as well.
There was a pretty creepy article from the Oregonian in 1918 about that year's winner of the Best Baby Contest. It talks about her fair skin and her rosy cheeks. It notes that her coloring was a big feature in her win. How explicit at the time was the connection between the eugenics movement in Oregon and white supremacism?
It was. There's a lot of coded words there. Her rosy cheeks, her fair skin. And I was just reading about this recently, a connection between the kind of budding Ku Klux Klan movement in the 1920s and the eugenics movement. And that connection hasn't been expressly found, but at that time there was also this increase in overt racism.
Let's turn to the way courts dealt with this, because the Oregon Court of Appeals was asked pretty late in terms of what we've just talked about. This was 1972 to review the constitutionality of forced sterilization. What did the court find?
In that case, this was a 1972 case, Nora Cook, and she was someone who we would look at and say she had a terrible childhood. She was removed from her home at 13, the results of physical and sexual abuse. She was in foster home, state hospital, Hillcrest School. She had aggressive and hostility and verbal threats to others, self-inflicted injury, ran away. So the court ultimately found that it was for the best of the society, that, if she would have children, then she would not be able to take care of the children. And because of her quote unquote promiscuity, she'd probably have a lot of children. So they saw it as, we need to think about the future of society. So by sterilizing her now, we're benefiting the future and benefiting her as well.
Some of their exact language was that when there is overwhelming evidence that a potential parent will be unable to provide a proper environment for a child because of his or her own mental illness or mental retardation, the state has sufficient interest.
But it's more than just mental illness and mental retardation. To even go back a little bit, that's what a dog owner will do to their dog if they don't want their dog to get pregnant because they can't afford, pay attention, to take care of the puppies. It goes back to financial wealth. It goes back to economics. Okay? So it has nothing to really do with your mental health. It has to do with, do you have the funds to take care of that child? Now, if you don't have the funds, why is it that you don't have the funds? Look what they're doing now. They shut down everything off of something that they know is a hoax. It's fake. Shut down all these businesses because this is literally a cash grab. Okay, not only is it a cash grab, it is straight up DNA harvesting. We got to test inside here. We got to test inside there. We got to test inside there. Then now they're going to make it to where they're going to make it mandatory to get the vaccine, mandatory to give you blood, mandatory for them to come and test you anytime they want in your home. Mandatory, right? And what's been going on? People have not been given their blood like that over the years anymore. People have stopped. So how do you make that shit skyrocket back again? You have to kill the economy and create another a generational new class of poor people. Who are they mostly targeting? Who they call Negroes, your communities. Who are they going to use to bring you down to the blood harvesting places? Your freaking pastors. Okay? This is who they're going to use. Your Pan-African communities. There's a lot of them that say, well, yes, we got to give blood because I ain't giving nobody shit. We're going to get my blood. Pay attention. Has to do with economical wealth. And this is why you see them shutting down everything, finding you. Who finds someone right now? My friend's mother broke her back in 3 places. And they talk about because of COVID, they don't know if they could take her to go get help at this facility or so-and-so facility, right? He wants to go see his mom now, and he's being told, don't come down here because the governor shut down the state. That if you come, they're not allowing you to leave. They can't do that. That's not lawful. But when you're a ward of the states, they could do that because you're the property. You proclaim to be their property. You never once went back and say, hey, you're not a ward of the state. No. None of these things. Never put them on blast saying, hey, how could I, as a fetus, or how could I, as a baby, a newborn, make a contract with you to be a ward of the state, to be state property? It's all about jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction over you. How could you get from underneath that jurisdiction? It goes back to your indigenous identity, your ancestry. Rescinding all contracts with the state. I'm gonna play out this a little bit more, then we're gonna go into the other thing.
Interest to order sterilization. So that was 1972. 11 years later, the Oregon legislature would repeal the law that allowed for sterilization. But does that legal precedent still stand?
That does, as there's the law no longer allows for forced sterilization. So I don't think you could have that occur, but the case law has not been overturned, nor has the U.S. Supreme Court case on the famous case Buck v. Bell on this topic.
From much earlier.
From 1927.
One of the remarkable things about...
Yeah, I hear that? So the law, so their state laws on forced sterilization still stands. Like that's what I was saying the other day. So they're not going to tell you the reason why we're giving you the vaccine is to sterilize your ass, and that there's many different vaccines. There's another video that I'm going to play probably within the week before the week is fully up, of someone that worked for FEMA, breaking down that it's 48 different vaccines. 48 different vaccines that they already have prepared to give you. And you have some that's when they pick and choose, they're not going to tell you that they chose you to be sterilized. They have a vaccine for the ones that they don't want to produce anymore or slow down your production rate of bringing forth children. And they got that vaccine already ready for you. This is why they want to make the vaccines mandatory so that you can have it. Okay? Mandatory.
Things about the story to me is just that it lasted for so long, at least on the books. From 1917 all the way to 1983, some version of forced sterilization was technically allowed, and thousands of people were forcibly sterilized. Was that happening as late as the 1970s and 1980s?
I think I've read differing accounts, but I've read in one account that the last sterilization occurred in 1981. I've heard also like in the mid 70s. So I haven't exactly pinned down when the last one to occur. Of course, there was a 1972 case, so it was still going on at that time. And now they're ordering it. Whether it was being carried out, I'm not sure.
Why are you interested in telling this history now in 2018?
In part, it just fascinates me. It's just a fascinating story that no one talks about. But it also, reading some of the documents and statements and listening to today's news, when I was writing this and doing the research was around 2016.
And you wrote something for the Oregon State Bar Review 2 years ago.
Right. And so much changed since then on our political landscape that, I'm reading what we hear today. For example, yesterday, our president said, we cannot allow all of these people to invade our country. When someone comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came. That could have been ripped out of the headlines from the 1920s. There's a great line that says, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And I think we don't know the past, so we don't know. And so the first step to the eugenics movement in the United States was reducing immigration, was significantly in 1924, reducing the number of immigrants into this country.
Mark Brown, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
That's Mark Brown, Chief Deputy Defender for the Oregon Office of Public Defense Services. You can hear more about the history of eugenics at his talk at the Kennedys.
All right, so we're going to get into the other thing. The boy, you said Rebel Media? You said Rebel News? Is it Rebel News or Rebel Media? Matter of fact, what's the name of the video? Just give me the name of the video that you're talking about. Just give me the name of the video that you're talking about. All right, let me get into the other one. Now, this is New Cannibalism, the real story behind blood donations. Let me hit the screen share for y'all. Give me a second. This is from Real Stories. Right. Oh, I'm going to play the audio because if I play the thing, they might cut it off. So we'll just play the audio. All right. See, they're already slowing it up. I've been hit the play button. So there we go. All right, give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. If it don't play, I'll just play it from my phone. Yeah, I'm gonna play it from my phone.
Welcome to the wonderful world of blood donation. Around the world, giving blood is seen as a symbol of generosity, one of the noblest acts in modern society. But the reality is different altogether.
Healthcare is the perfect money-making industry. Our willingness to pay for available therapies, basically, especially for our loved ones.
All right, I'm gonna play it on the
This knows no bounds.
At the heart of this business, plasma, a yellow liquid rich in proteins. It's the main component of blood. It's more expensive than oil.
C'est l'exploitation de l'homme par l'homme. Le terme qui est utilisé par certains, c'est le nouveau cannibalisme. Est-ce qu'on accepte au prix d'un marchandage ce système qui...
All right, I'm gonna play from my phone. All right, give me a second. Here we go.
Welcome to the wonderful world of blood donation. Around the world, giving blood is seen as a symbol of generosity, one of the noblest acts in modern society. But the reality is different altogether.
Healthcare is the perfect money-making industry. Our willingness to pay for available therapies, basically, especially for our loved ones, knows no bounds.
At the heart of this business, plasma, a yellow liquid rich in proteins. It's the main component of blood. It's more expensive than oil.
C'est l'exploitation de l'homme par l'homme. Le terme qui est utilisé par certains, c'est le nouveau cannibalisme. Est-ce qu'on accepte au prix d'un marchandage ce système qui permet à un individu riche de profiter du pauvre?
I'm like a cop. Here we go. I mean, that's true.
It almost killed me, so I don't want to do that no more.
No se digas.
We decided to explore a little-known area within the health industry, the blood trade. Our investigation took us to France, Germany, and the U.S.
They don't like us to interview their donors.
Yeah, man, you know why? They doing something they ain't doing right. They need to stop it. Public want to know.
Today, Carlos is donating blood. Despite his busy job, he's a regular blood donor at the Red Cross Center in Lausanne. Carlos sees his act as a sign of commitment to the community.
More than 100 million donations are collected each year worldwide. In 2015, the Swiss Red Cross registered 311,000 donations. The figure diminishes each year and they're constantly seeking new donors. Their message is clear. Giving blood saves lives.
C'est important pour moi de venir parce que je sais que je peux aider des malades. C'est vraiment le point important pour moi. C'est ma façon de pouvoir aider des gens. Oui, c'est possible. Je vous bascule un petit peu en arrière.
Je trouve que c'est quand même quelque chose de beau de pouvoir donner quelque chose, en tout cas qui est une partie de soi-même.
Je vous mets à 16h et puis vous venez quand vous pouvez, il n'y a pas de souci.
Now you have parts that's going to be in French, but most of it is in English, right? So, it starts off in like Switzerland and France, these places, but then you're going to see where their blood is coming from. And they're going to go into, see right here, they show 1 or 2 Caucasian folks, right? That's donating blood over there. But the core of their blood is coming from the Americas. And their first stop was in Cleveland, right? But you're going to hear what they're saying.
There's a quite peculiar juice, said Faust's devil with glee, but he's not the only one to be interested. Health is also an industry, and blood donations are subject to the laws of the market.
Voilà, ça coûte bien.
Yeah, it is.
Oui, volontiers.
Before giving blood, these Swiss donors must complete a medical questionnaire and give their informed consent. In particular, there is one line at the end of the form, a sentence in small letters. I am aware that some components of my donation may be used for the production of drugs. Only a few donors read this line, though it's crucial. In reality,
did you hear that? Did you hear that? So ask yourself, if you're trying to cure someone, do you inject another person's DNA into the drug that you're going to give your clients, your consumers, your customers? Huh? They're taking other people's genetics and implanting it in these drugs. So a person, that's why I keep telling y'all, man, y'all think you and some of these people take the same medication, y'all don't, right? What was created to tamper with your immune system? What was created to make your immune system weak? They have something else for them to make theirs stronger. So if they have birth defects, they're injecting you with the same people's birth defects inside of you. Okay? The same folks that has the birth defects, it's their genetics they're giving you, and you whom has the least birth defects, it's your genetics that they're giving them. All right? Like, this is not rocket science. And I see that we have the little hacker came back and is hacking into my platform again. They're on my panel. And I don't even have a panel going, right?
Most of the donated blood is sold to private companies, something the Red Cross doesn't advertise.
Wir erhalten etwa 320.000 Blutspenden pro Jahr. Das sind Vollblutspenden, das heißt, in diesen Blutspenden sind natürlich alle Bestandteile drin, auch das Plasma.
Okay, und was machen Sie mit Blutplasma?
Im Gegensatz zu den anderen Blutbestandteilen ist es beim Plasma so, dass nur etwa 20.
You hear how many times they said the word plasma? You made that out clear, didn't y'all? Plasma, that liquid gold that they take from the blood, plasma. Now, when you watch them vampire movies and they tell you it's not really the blood, it's the plasma in the blood. It's the plasma that they want, right? That's why Blade needed Whistler to create him a new serum, which was plasma. All right, plasma. And Whistler used Blade's own blood for the plasma, because within your own blood, the blood is the cure of life. The blood is the elixir of life. You cure any disease, any so-called virus with your own blood. It's in it. Okay? It's in it. That's what these people know that you don't know. This is why the blood harvesting, especially of the young ones, the babies, which more pure, more potent.
90% dieser Menge direkt in den Spitälern gebraucht werden. In den Spitälern gebraucht heißt für Patienten, die einen großen Blutverlust haben und dieses Volumen ersetzt halten müssen. Der restliche Anteil, das sind fast 80%, geht in die sogenannte Fraktionierindustrie. Das sind Firmen, die daraus stabile Blutprodukte und Medikamente herstellen.
The plasma fractionation industry. These are the pharmaceutical companies that buy 80,000 liters of plasma from the Red Cross each year. The humanitarian institution makes nearly 10 million Swiss francs from this sale. Are the donors aware of it?
Qu'est-ce que vous savez sur ce que va devenir le sang que vous venez de donner?
Bien, je dois dire que je suis plutôt innocent par rapport à ça. Je me renseigne pas énormément par rapport à ce genre de choses. Quand j'entends le mot don du sang, eh bien, c'est le fait que je vais donner de mon sang. Et puis après, ce que ce sang va devenir, eh bien, j'ose espérer qu'il soit utilisé dans les hôpitaux qui sont pas très loin de chez nous. Donc, c'est un peu l'image que j'ai, moi, du don du sang. C'est une image un peu innocente.
First discovery, the majority of the donor's blood is sold to pharmaceutical industries. The industry is so interested in Carlos's blood for a specific reason. Its liquid part, called plasma, contains sought-after proteins. They are used to make very expensive and profitable drugs. Who are the players behind this industry? We decided to track the plasma trade.
Welcome to CSL Plasma. Typically, 57% of our blood volume is made up of plasma. Plasma is a straw-colored liquid portion of the whole blood that transports water and nutrients to all cells of the body. It is composed of approximately 90% water and 10% protein.
The plasma industry is huge, and a handful of companies share the world market. Baxter in the USA, CSL Behring in Australia, Cheerfuls in Spain, and the company Octapharma.
We're going to back this up so that you guys can hear something again. It transports water. 90% of plasma is what? Water. That's what they said. Now, when I told y'all that the leaking of the radioactive plants that they have here in the Americas, that every single one of them at one point they are still leaking at the same time to this very day into the drinking water supply, wasn't a joke. When I said it was orchestrated for it to happen that way, it was organized for that to happen. When you saw that they polluted Flint, Michigan's drinking water supply with that dirty ass river water, that's because in you have the less birth defects out of any population of people on this planet, the Negroes of the Americas. Okay? So they need to tear you down. They need to make you the next mentally ill mass population people, the ones that's slow to catch on, hard to educate by tearing down and polluting your mental. The ones with behavioral issues. Like we know chemtrails, when they were spraying the chemtrails, it increased violent tendencies in us. That's proven. So the Flint, Michigan thing wasn't an accident. It was orchestrated. When Governor Cuomo came into office over 7 years ago, and he found out that the Indian Point power plant was leaking, why didn't he hold anyone in charge criminally responsible for not getting it fixed or pointing it out when it was supposed to be pointed out. That plant was leaking even before he came into office, to show you how long they have it. Every politician before him and now him, how long they allowed it to leak for without holding anyone responsible. I don't want to hear that you're writing a new goddamn reform. I don't want to hear that shit. I want to hear, well, now we're going to start closing down these plants because you guys go off of a Masonic astrological calendar. So on the calendar, it says this is the year to do this now. What? I want to hear that shit. I want to hear heads being rolled. I want to hear someone's getting prosecuted. I want to see what's happening. I want to know why Giuliani didn't do nothing about it when he was mayor. I want to hear why Bloomberg didn't do nothing about it when he was mayor. I want to hear why Pataki didn't do nothing about it when he was governor. And even the Negro man that was the acting governor at the time, why he didn't do nothing about it. I want to know why Cuomo's daddy, Mario Cuomo, when he spent 3 terms as governor, didn't do nothing about it. This is how long the shit was leaking. Orchestrated.
We decided to track the plasma trade.
Welcome to CSL Plasma. Typically, 57% of our blood volume is made up of plasma. Plasma is a straw-colored liquid portion of the whole blood that transports water and nutrients to all cells in the body. It is composed of approximately 90% water and 10% protein.
The plasma industry is huge, and a handful of companies share the world market. Baxter in the USA, CSL Behring in Australia, Girfols in Spain, and the company Octapharma in Switzerland, which we discover through these promotional films.
Octapharma's raw material is produced by the perfect bioreactor, developed over millions of years of evolution. The human body.
For these companies.
So they got a branch in the US, they got a branch in Australia. You see, they're harvesting Aboriginal people all over.
Plasma is nothing but a raw material, and very lucrative too. The professional term is fractionation, the name of the procedure that transforms donors' plasma into drugs. To do this, they collect, freeze, and mix thousands of liters of human plasma. These companies control a market which is worth $17 billion and growing steadily. Wolfgang Marguer, the president and co-founder of Octapharma, is a very discreet person. Forbes estimates his fortune at $6 billion. This is one of his very rare public appearances.
How do you see the future developing?
These products are life-saving drugs, and they will be required for some patient groups as a lifelong therapy.
And presumably they're covered by most insurance
Yes,
companies.
they have to be, as they're very expensive. But that is also the other part of the same coin. There are many countries who simply cannot afford to provide this kind of level of treatment to their population, yet at least. And it sounds easy when you say, well, plasma should be available enough. You just go to your population, your country, you collect the plasma, and then you will be in good shape and you make those products. It's not the case.
Now a truly global.
Now keep in mind, they started with the animals. This is why a lot of animals has been hunted into extinction. Okay? Animals eat directly from the earth more than how we do even in today's society. You can't make this stuff up, and you hear him. He lets you know that the plasma from other people is what they use to create their drugs. This is the business that Bill Gates has invested in. Now, who controls the drug industry? The CDC. The CDC has at least over 100 major drug companies under its wing as subsidiaries of the CDC. The CDC is not a government organization. It is a private organization. It is a business, a private corporation. Has nothing to do with the government. So when Dr. Fauci is telling you, oh, this is why we got to do this, and this is why he has a vested interest, because he works for the CDC. Not only does he works for it, he has stocks that's in this industry. Now, what is that? That's called a conflict of interest. That's illegal. It's against the law. Okay? These same people are the ones that invested in your mayor's and your governor's political career. There you go again. Another conflict of interest. So they had to create this fictitious COVID-19 shit to get y'all to say, yes, vaccinate me, vaccinate me, vaccinate me. I'm going to come get tested. Wake up.
Organization. Alta Pharma remains a family business dedicated to always going further to empower more patients to go further in their life adventure.
Throughout the world, the lives of millions of patients depend on these treatments. Tamara is one of them. Today, she's receiving her treatment at a hospital in Bern. Since childhood, she suffers from an immune deficiency that causes repeated infections.
Now, what they're showing, that's why I put the link in the chat, right? So you guys can watch this on when y'all ready. They're showing a Caucasian person with immune deficiency. That's what they're showing. All right. Then from there on, they're gonna go down now into America and go down into Cleveland. All right. You can't make this stuff up. And every face that they showed in Cleveland was a Negro face. Then they went to the Christian church. God damn it. You can't make this stuff up. To show you where it's there. You see, these people don't have to say it or spell it out to you. They're showing you through the visuals, through these documentaries that they've done to wake you up so that you could catch on to what's going on. They're literally showing it to you. Literally. Let's keep going.
Thanks to her plasma-based treatment, Tamara's life has become easier. So much so that it would be difficult for her to go without.
Bevor ich die Infusion bekommen habe, habe ich mir sicher etwa 2 Jahre nie können sagen, ja, ich bin gesund oder es geht mir gut. Und das hat sich das schon verändert.
That means she can no longer live without your plasma. She have to always get like a once a week fix up or twice a week fix up or once every 2 weeks, however often she gets it, right? She can't live without it.
Jetzt rein auf die Infektionen bezogen. Ich komme alle 3 Wochen hierher, also die Infusionen bekomme. Ja, und es geht dann einfach pro Mal geht's circa 3 bis 4 Stunden. Also es sind eigentlich Immunglobulin. Also sprich eigentlich wie, also das ist ein wichtiger Teil der Immunabwehr, die man hat. Und die Antikörper, die man selber nicht produzieren kann, werden einfach von außen zugeführt. Gut. Also ich arbeite in einer Apotheke und darum kenne ich so ein bisschen die Preise. Und die grosse Flasche ist glaube ich um die 1500 Franken und die kleinere ist so um die 1000.
Also total heute
ist ca. 4000 Franken. Also ich bin um jede Frau, die geht Blut spenden, natürlich nicht nur wegen unseren Medikamenten, sondern allgemein. Und ja, ich mache die Leute immer wieder ein bisschen darauf aufmerksam. Also wir sind halt dort ein bisschen eben, im Verwandtenkreis oder so, oder ja, bist du Blut spenden oder vor allem bei Bekannten, das mal wieder heute ansprechen. Weil, ja, ich glaube, die Leute muss man ein bisschen sensibilisieren auf das.
Where is her life-changing drug from? Where is the blood in the drug from? From Swiss donors?
Denken Sie, das kommt aus Schweizer Blutplasma?
Auch nicht. Ich weiß nicht. Ich habe gesagt nein. Oder nicht nur.
The plasma's origin isn't public information. It's a trade secret. We decide to visit the Swiss clinic. This is the Swiss authority in charge of drug
Let's back this
control.
up.
Ich weiß nicht.
All right, so they're asking her if she
Where is her
knows.
life-changing drug from?
They're gonna ask her if she knows where the drug, her life-changing drug is coming from. So she don't know, right? Because they don't let them know that where it's coming from, right? So they asked her, and she think it comes from Switzerland. So she said she don't know, probably some of it. So now they're about to let her know where it comes from. It comes from niggas. Nigga blood.
Where is the blood in the drug from? From Swiss donors?
That's the link I put in the chat, y'all,
Denken Sie, das
for that video.
kommt aus Schweizer Blutplasma?
Oude niet. Ik weet niet. Ja, ik zei nee. Of niet nur.
The plasma's origin isn't public information. It's a trade secret. We decide to visit Swissmedic. This is the Swiss authority in charge of drug control, including their origins. These experts analyze plasma samples each week, as well as the blood-derived products that are used in hospitals.
Et ça, c'est du Plasma. Ja, das sind Plasmapools. Also in jedem Röhrchen ist ein Aliquot eines Plasmapools. Im Rahmen der behördlichen raschen Plasmapool-Testung müssen uns die Firmen auch diese Pool-Aliquots einreichen, wo wir dann die Tests eben auf HIV, Hepatitis B, Hepatitis C durchführen.
Est-ce qu'on peut regarder d'où viennent ces lots de plasma? De quel pays? C'est
Wir
possible.
können das nachschauen, ja. Ja.
The all-new 888 Casino is the hottest online casino experience. Have fun on PC, iOS, and Android from your mobile and
C'est pas pour le film. On peut pas filmer la page. Okay. Das gehört der Firma. Also das ist ein Gesuch.
Ce document appartient à la firme.
Es ist ein Gesuch um Plasmapoolprüfung. Und hier sehen Sie nur verschiedene Pools aufgelistet. Herkunftsland der Spenden.
USA.
Und jetzt nehmen wir diese Nummer, das ist die CEU 1445.
Kansas City, Chattanooga, Lansing.
Da sieht man jetzt, wie viele Spenden aus welchem Zentrum stammen.
C'est bizarre.
Ja, und alle diese Zentren, die sind im Plasma Master File zugelassen von Swissmedic. Daher dürfen sie jetzt bei uns eingereicht werden in den Pools durch.
So they're speaking on. Okay.
West 25th Street. 48 donneurs.
Cleveland, United States.
So they're speaking on the testing sites that they've opened up in Cleveland, right? And how they've approved them for testing, for experiments with the plasma. All right. Cleveland, West 25th Street, 48 donors. All right. This is in Ohio. Okay. So this is where now it's going from Switzerland over into Ohio now, Cleveland, Ohio, which means it doesn't touch Chicago. It doesn't touch Detroit. It doesn't touch New York, New Jersey. It touched throughout the entire Americas, which means this also puts together the hundreds of thousands of young boys and girls that gets kidnapped every year. Now you know. If you don't know, now you know. From the islands, from the mainland, South, Central America.
We decided to travel there. West 25th Street. The address listed in Swissmedic's register. Some of the plasma used in the drugs sold in Switzerland comes from here. This blood collection center belongs to the Australian company CSL. Donate plasma, save lives, earn up to $200 a month. There are donor ads everywhere which tell us that the volunteers are paid for their blood. As opposed to most European countries, the USA allows compensation for blood donations. This practice is legal. We enter the premises, which are under heavy surveillance. Impossible to speak with the staff.
Yeah, you can't just come and take pictures. You got to do it the right way.
No, we do it from the outside.
Okay, across the street. Across the street, you can that, right?
Yeah.
What do they have to hide? Why he gotta leave? And he
The
don't have
center
to leave.
is in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. Cleveland is a devastated city. The financial crisis of 2008 was a fatal blow.
Who was in office in 2008? Who was in office in 2008, people? Yeah.
Pastor Lester Williams knows the reality of life in this neighborhood. Many of his church followers sell their plasma.
I can live without. Come on, Pastor. Well, I guess it all works out. It's legal, so I don't have a problem with that if that's what people decide to do.
But what is strange is that the companies, they continue to call this a donation.
Mm-hmm.
But what is a donation when you pay someone?
It's not a donation. It's not free. That's what a donation should be. It should be free. Evidently, they're exploiting people in whatever their conditions is economically, and so it's actually not a donation. They're actually paying for it. Now, are they charging? Again, I'm gonna ask you this question: are they charging Switzerland for the plasma?
Yes.
So they're making money on it.
Obama was in office 2008, people. Come on now. Now let's back this up. You see, this is why you can't have every Negro speak for you. All right? Because the first thing he said, well, if it's legal, I don't see nothing wrong with it. You don't see nothing wrong with it. You don't see how that affects how they tore apart the economy of what they call the black community, so that they can have you be the number one harvesters, number one percent of people harvested for your plasma, because you need that money to go put towards your rent, to go pay, to go get food, to feed yourself and your children, huh? You need that money to keep a roof over your head, gas in your car, so that you can be able to go to your low minimum wage paying job, which in the South, they pay less than anywhere else, huh? You don't see nothing wrong with that? And you're a pastor? Wow. Wow. But then again, you are 501c3, so you are contracted underneath the corporation. So you can't speak bad about the corporation because they'll take that shit away from you in a heartbeat. Anyway, let's back this up. Let me try to screen share. Let me see if they'll let it play. Hold on. So I can show you all a part of what it is that I'm looking at, you know. Let me see if they'll let it rock. Let's see. Let's see. Wow.
Cleveland is a devastated city. The financial crisis of 2008 was a fatal blow.
Yeah, they're gonna mess with it.
Pastor Lester Williams knows the reality of life in this neighborhood. Many of his church followers sell their plasma.
Fair use, fair use.
Come on, Pastor. Well, I guess it all works out. It's legal, so I don't have a problem with that if that's what people decide to do.
But what is strange is that the companies, they continue to call this a donation.
Mm-hmm.
But what is a donation when you pay someone?
It's not a donation. It's not free. That's what a donation should be. It should be free. Evidently, they're exploiting. They're exploiting people in whatever their conditions is economically. And
all right, we'll stop it there. Extorting people into whatever their conditions is economically. Now you see why they've shut down all your businesses, right? They shut down all the businesses except for the ones who are running this plasma business. The Home Depots, the Lowe's, the Walgreens. These businesses are open because they're the funders, they're the backers behind these businesses, right? This is why. And they're not forcing you. They didn't put a gun to your head and say you have to do this. They just spoke in an intimidating way. They know that you're fearful, and you chose to obey unlawful commands from corrupt criminals whom you voted for and put into these offices on these lower levels. Or you think you voted for them. You think you put them in office. So you volunteered for this whole thing. This whole thing has been voluntary this whole time. And that's why karma don't come back to these people. Because you became fearful and you bitched up. Pretty much. And now, like I said, all these testing sites. Who runs these testing sites? They're not city testing sites. Who are the pharmaceutical companies who are making this vaccine? Huh? Did anyone look into these things? It all ties back. Everything ties back. Everything is connected. They got you doing it to yourself. Even when you know it's wrong. Like you walk around with these masks on your face. Even when you go into the store with the mask on your face, you always put it below your nose. So what's the sense of wearing it? What is the sense of wearing it? It's below your nose because you know it's wrong. You know you need to breathe. So you sit here and you say I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Right? For Eric Gardner, for Lloyd, for whatever his name is, George Floyd. Right? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. But then here's your governor, your mayor telling you it's mandatory. You have to wear a mask. Now you really can't breathe. And you're not fighting that? Oh, because they said, there's a virus in the air. Really? Really now? The air produces viruses? I didn't know that. Really? How did it get there? Who put it there? How did the people get infected? For what reason? The pharmaceutical industry will collect its dues any means necessary. By any means necessary. And they back your governors and your mayors. They back them. So your governors and mayors are selling you out. Then you got to understand, where does this go back to? It goes back to these bootleg-looking Ashkenazi Jews. Okay? This is where it's going back to. Wake up, people. Wake up. Let's play out a little bit more of this. Now, if you're not believing, let me pull something up also. Let me pull something up. Let me see, where is it? Okay. There we go. We're going to go back into the coronavirus file. Right? We're going to go right back into this the coronavirus files, documentations. small businesses are saying they'll get sued if you don't. Who's going to sue them? Who's going to sue them? Who's going to sue the small business if they don't wear a mask? They're saying that they'll get fined. That police in where I'm at, they're saying police officers are going around writing them tickets. Well, I'm pretty sure your business is insured. I'm pretty sure your business is under a trust also. So if the person who owns your business understand these type of things, they'll know that that ticket ain't going nowhere, right? If that person knows how to sign all rights reserved, without recourse or with impunity on these tickets, then they know once they go down to the courthouse has to prove that they've broken the law. Someone not wearing a mask is not against the law. That's why it's key to ask, is it against the law? So these businesses, right? Because you got to pay attention, because a lot of these folks are secret society, supposed secret society, Masonic motherfuckers, right? So some of these businesses will go along with this shit because they want you to wear the mask, right? So the business owners will come out and say, because y'all won't wear y'all mask, our businesses can't stay open. No, you stupid motherfucker. Because you are in that occult society and you're trying to play me like I'm stupid, is why your business can't stay open. Because if you know anything, law, when you go to a supposed court, if it's a real court, it's supposed to go by law. So if there's a law that says that that person has to wear the mask, then that's a different story. But there is no law. So those businesses cannot tell me that they can't fight those cases and even turn those cases into lawsuits where they make millions of dollars back from the city and the state by suing the fuck out of them. They're just trying to get you to conform. This is how big this shit is, right? Remember, they spent years manipulating and rigging the homeowner society, who starts and open up a business, right? Who gets first dibs, right? Like, look, I've asked about 3 houses a while back in my area, and everybody told me they don't know what's going on with them. And all of a sudden, I see 3 Mexican families in all 3 houses. So how then y'all didn't know, but all of a sudden now, so gentrification, that's a part of eugenics. I've asked about this empty lot. Nobody could tell me nothing about it, right? But all of a sudden, this Spanish guy, he has the empty lot now. Gentrification. It's for these Castilians. They're giving it to the Castilians, right? Wake up. You gotta wake up. That's why I tell y'all, I watch what goes on in politics. And Negroes have not owned, there's more business Negro owners with Trump in office than there was when he was not in office. There's more homeowners, what you call black homeowners, now with homes than there was before Trump was in office. Y'all got to pay attention to what's going on. And I'm not saying he's the magic bullet, but he's one of your best options right now for those of whom who are wards of the state, who are still underneath the jurisdiction of the state. That's the best bet that you guys have. For those whom are not, you already know what it is. But anyway, so here we go with this right here. Let me show y'all something about when they talk about the COVID-19 numbers. Pay attention, man. Because some of y'all sit here like, oh, coronavirus, and there's coronavirus 2020, it's new. No, it's not. Look at this right here at the side of this. It says March 7th, 2015. Okay, download from jcm.asm.org on March 7th, 2015 by guest. Here it says right here, Journal of Clinical Microbiology, December 2004. Okay, copyright at 2004, American Society of Microbiology, all rights reserved. You see how they got all rights reserved? This is how you sign off on any document with the corporation. False positive results in a recumbent, severe, acute respiratory syndrome associated coronavirus. False positive results. Let's keep going. Using paired serum samples obtained from patients with illness associated with increases in anti-human coronavirus OC43 or anti-HCOV229E antibodies. We examined the possibility of false positive results detected in the recombinant severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. So when I tell you that they talk about all these people, these hundreds of thousands of people are dying from coronavirus that is fake. They're just saying that shit. They falsifying the documentations. This is from 2004. And even this year, they told you, well, the test isn't accurate. It does give false hits. False hits. Huh? So the numbers are a lie. Okay? Can't make this shit up. You can't make this stuff up. Severe acute respiratory syndrome caused by SARS-associated coronavirus, SARS-CoV, has affected 30 countries in 5 continents with more than 8,000 cases and 750 deaths, 7 out of 11. As for the detection of antibodies against SARS-CoV, at the moment, the most widely used methods are antibody detection in acute and convalescent phase sera by indirect immunofluorescence assay and enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay using cell culture extracts. However, antibody detection by these methods may be less reproducible, more difficult to standardize, and more labor-intensive than ELISA-based antibody detection tests using recombinant antigens. You hear Fauci be talking about the antigens, or we got to test the antigens, and the antigens, this is going back to that blood plasma. Man. Where were we? Influence user cell extracts detection by these methods may be less reproducible, more difficult to standardize, and more labor-intensive than ELISA-based antibody detection testing. Let's scroll down. Okay. Detection tests using recombinant antigens. Furthermore, producing the infected cell lines for coding the ELISA plates and the slides for indirect immunofluorescence requires cultivation of the SARS-CoV, for which biosafety level 3 laboratory facility are required. Such facilities are not available in most clinical microbiology laboratories. ELISA-based antibody detection tests using recombinant antigens are well known to offer higher reproducibility and to be easier to standardize and less labor intensive than antibody detection by indirect immunofluorescence assay and ELISA using cell culture extract, and they do not require cultivation of the SARS. Recently, we have reported the use of reported the use of recombinant SARS-CoV nucleocapsid protein ELISA based antibody test for serogenesis of SARS, pneumonia, and the study of the scroll prevalence of non-numeric SARS infections. In addition, others have also reported the use of recombinant protein, blood plasma protein-based immunoassay in our studies. We have also shown that false positive reactions were detected in the recombinant SARS. You can't make this stuff up, man. So a lot of y'all that's about this COVID, a lot of y'all have SARS and don't even know that it's SARS, right? Which is also a part of the coronavirus. The coronavirus has many different fractions. You got the flu, you got pneumonia, you got asthma, you got tuberculosis, you got bronchitis. It's many different forms. So anyone that you have, they just say COVID and that's it. And it's a wrap. So it's nothing new. COVID-19 is fucking fake. And this human coronavirus has been around since 1962. Don't believe me? Let's go into the other file. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Hold on. We're going to get there. Let me see if this is it. PDF oscillation of man of the AVI. Give me a second, y'all. Now, we've went through this already, but let's go back over it. So if you guys don't know what this is, okay. This is the coronavirus file that I have with all the history of the coronavirus. It's a couple thousand pages on here. Okay. Now, when I find the other video that I want to share with you guys, it's going to mention Oxford University, right? Now, look, right here, Oxford University Press collaborating with JSTO to digitize, preserve, and extend access to the Journal of Infectious Diseases. This content downloaded from Monday, September 12th, 2016. Isolation from man of avian infectious bronchitis virus-like viruses, coronavirus. So we just did SARS. This is the bronchitis-like virus-like coronavirus, similar to 229E, various with some epidemiological observations. Okay. And this is Oxford University. From Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Public Health Service, National Institutes of Health, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Laboratory of Infectious Diseases, Bethesda, Maryland. With standard tissue culture techniques, it has been possible to determine the etiologic agent of only 20 to 35% of upper respiratory illness in adults. However, in 1965, Tyrell and Bino reported successful attempts to increase the efficiency of virus recovery from patients with upper respiratory tract illness using human embryonic, tracheal, and nasal organ cultures. So this is human DNA that they're using. They found that organ cultures are more sensitive than conventional tissue cultures for isolation of some rhinoviruses. In addition, they isolated an either labile virus, strain B814, which could be grown only in organ culture and which produce common cold-like illnesses in volunteers in 1966. I don't need to go back no further. Look, man, the link to this entire file, it's already in the description box, okay? The link to the entire file is already in the description box. It's called the coronavirus file. That's what I labeled it. Then I also have the Coronavirus Act. I have many other coronavirus acts that was drafted up 2019, passed in 2020. Okay, some people like to think, well, no, they drafted all those acts up this year and passed them this year. No, it's called COVID-19 2019, coronavirus 2019. They had those drafted up and chose this year to pass them to try to throw you off. All right. Oh, this is the file. Let me show you how extensive this file is. For those who are new here, this is it. This is what I was sending to Soulflow, and he didn't want it. He asked me, oh, I said, yo, bro, I have the coronavirus file, the entire dossier. Do you want it? He said, oh, I'm aware of that. Have you heard of Shaka? So I said, who? Demas? He never answered back. He better not be talking about Shaka Atmos. Even Shaka Demas. None of them don't know shit about this. Okay? He never answered back. Never even said, yeah, let me get it so I can show the people that what I'm talking about is bullshit. Right? So he's spitting false narratives. He don't know what he's talking about when it comes to the coronavirus. He don't know what he's talking about when it comes to what's going on with the government in Jamaica. He don't know. Or he's just pushing an agenda. But this is it. You see how much? This is the entire history. This is what SARS unique domain. This is 2009 of SARS coronavirus. Contains 2 micro domains that bind G quadruplexes. Like, come on. Risk factors for feline coronavirus seropositivity in cats. Relinquished to a UK rescue charity. Come on. See that? Let's go. We could keep going. We could keep going. No more agent organizations and platforms, yo. I'm about to do away with all of y'all. If you're not trying to talk the truth or spit the truth and you're just about just promoting drama within our communities and not actually trying to wake the people up, because what's coming is coming for everybody. Let's see, we're just going to stop on random things. What is this? PDF 2005. Sinocerin, an inhibitor of the 3C-like proteins of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. There you go. 2005. Circulation of genetically distinct temporary human coronavirus strain. There you go. Let's keep going. Like characteristics of Australian human enteric coronavirus. This is viral attack, viral warfare. This is biological warfare done on the human population. This is crimes against humanity. That is being the poster boy for it is Bill Gates, but Bill Gates is not the top man behind this shit. Okay. And what's this? Recombination reservoirs and the modular spike mechanism of coronavirus. Cross-species transmission. God damn it. He didn't want it. He didn't want it. It's other platforms I gave it to. I haven't really seen them say anything about it or put it out there. They're afraid to put the shit out there. This is it. So this is how I can tell you that your governors and your mayors is talking bullshit, that they're lying. This is the proof. This is it. Look at this. And still going. Still going. Let's stop again. 2005, molecular evolution analysis and geographic investigation of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus-like virus. 1989, rapid diagnosis of TGEV-like coronavirus in fattened pigs by indirect immunofluorescence labeling in nasal cells. This is why they want to check your nose. Huh? Let's keep going. What is this? Multiplex real-time reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction to the detection of 3 viruses associated. Let's keep going. You can't make this stuff up. Look, and I'm still going. I'm still going. You see that? This is the file, the master file. This is the proof that they're lying. Someone put this whole shit out there for us to reveal it to the world, and these motherfuckers don't want to put it out. They want to keep talking about which celebrity sleeping with who. And FYI, Raijin King got shot because that was an attempted blood sacrifice of Raijin King, and it failed. Look, 2012, quarantine protects Falkland Islands. Cats from the feline coronavirus infection. So this is when they've been practicing how to lock you off from the world to talk about they're supposedly quarantining you. 2017, discovery of a novel swine enteric alpha coronavirus in southern China. That's 2017. Huh? Come on now. Tell me when I'm wrong here. If you guys can hear me, press 1. Press 1 if you guys can hear me. Let me know that y'all still there. All right, cool. So this ain't no made up stuff. Someone actually risked their life to put this entire shit out. And us who have the platforms have a duty to make sure that this shit get out there. Well, have you ever heard of Shaka? What the fuck does that have to do with this? What did that have to do with this whole thing here? Now, let me find back this Chinese shit. Where is it? Falkland Islands, cats, coronavirus. This is discovery highly. And here's another 2017. Discovery of a highly divergent coronavirus in the Asian house. Shrew from China illuminates the origin of the alpha. Right? Let's click on this shit. And they say, well, oh, China, we didn't know. And your governors is still advocating for doing business with China while Trump is like, fuck them. Discovery of a highly divergent coronavirus in the Asian house. Shrew from China illuminates the origin of the alpha coronavirus. Now you got to go back to the astrological calendar around this time and see what the fuck was going on in that calendar, right? Because they don't name these things for nothing. All their names have a meaning to it. Running title, A Divergent Shrew, Alpha Coronavirus Sampled from China. Wang Wang, Shang Dan Lin. Okay, these are the folks behind it. I ain't trying to kill myself to pronounce these shits. State Key Laboratory for Infectious Disease Prevention and Control. Collaborative Innovation. State Key Laboratory for Infectious Disease Prevention and Control, collaborative. That sounds like CDC to me. Center for Disease and Treatment of Infectious Diseases, Department of Zoonose National. Institute for Communicable Disease Control and Prevention, Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Shenzhen, Beijing, China. And just keep going. Now that's Beijing. It's not even Wuhan. Oh, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Now we got to look at the population of who's in that population of Australia. 17 is of Life and Environmental Sciences and Sydney Medical School, the University of Sydney. God damn it. Contributed to this work equally. That's it. So this is pretty much a rundown. So this is the subfamily Coronavirinae contains several notorious human and animal pathogens. Duh, because they've been injecting animal and human cells back into you, including severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, Middle East respiratory syndrome, coronavirus and coronavirus protein epidemic, diarrhea virus, because of their genetic diversity and phylogenetic relationships. It has been proposed that the alpha coronavirus likely have their ultimate ancestry in those viruses residing in bats. Here we describe a novel alpha coronavirus that was sampled from Asian house shrew in China. Come on, man. You can't make this stuff up. Look, family, look. I bet you they live doing an update on the coronavirus. I bet you they are. But look at all of this. They will never touch on this. This is coming from their actual labs. This is not made up stuff. Who has time to sit down and make these thousands of pages up? It's not a game. That's why you keep seeing them backtrack on their word. Last week it was at its lowest. This week it's at its highest. Next week is going to be at its lowest. This week is at its highest. This is why they can predict, oh, this is the numbers that in 2 weeks from now it's going to hit. These are the numbers. That's because that's the numbers they want. Come on, look at this. 1982, reactivity of human coronavirus, OC43, and neonatal calf diarrhea. No, Diarrhea coronavirus membrane-associated antigens. Come on now. Come on, look at this. Look at this. You can't make this stuff up. Look. Pete, 2005, specific antibody secreting cells from chickens can be detected by 3 days and memory B cells by 3 weeks. Coronavirus, 2012. Coronavirus E protein forms ion channels with functionally and structurally involved membrane lipids. Can't make this stuff up, man. Look at this shit. Look at this. 2,000 respiratory coronavirus infections in children younger than 2 years of age. 2007, evidence for quasi-species in severe accurate respiratory syndrome associated coronavirus deletion mutants. 2014, blocking of exchange proteins directly activated by CAMP leads to reduced replication of Middle East respiratory. Look, man, you see that? This stuff is, look. You can't make this stuff up. Human papilloma virus type 16, peptide directed CD8 plus T cells from patients with cervical cancer are cross-reactive. That's it. That's it. You can't make this stuff up, family. Let me give you guys back the link to this. Give y'all the link so that you guys can have the link. Why isn't it coming up? Okay. Got it. Let's get back to the main page. Give you guys the link. There goes that entire file. That entire file. Okay. And again, you know, we here at the West Indian Tribal Society is here to push positive, righteous information that is helpful to the people, for the people, right? The West Indian Tribal Society is for the Indians of the Western Hemisphere. That is the entire Americas and the islands of the Americas, which they call the West Indies and or Caribbean. South Central America. Canada is also America. Okay? This is it. It's look, man, this is what it is. This thing is fake. This is just a cash grab and the biggest way to harvest your genetics, your DNA, because we are evolving. And because we are evolving, they have to consistently harvest from us to keep up with our evolution process. Okay? To learn how they can evolve into also killing us through these medications, these vaccines. Wake up. All right. This is all about killing the indigenous population that don't know that they're indigenous. Okay. CBS and NBC Live, they showing the $5 Indians saying they the first people and indigenous to the land and how the coronavirus is harming them. I don't give two shits. Fuck them. They're lying. I care about the real and original people of the land and their descendants and the ones whom are of their blood, whether you're mixed or full-blooded, right? And they're saying there's no such thing. Yes, there is. There's still full-blooded Indians out there, all right? So for those $5 Indians that's out there trying to look, man, I have no time for that shit. We already know what it is. As long as we know what it is and we take care of what we need to take care of, that's all that matters. Because what they're trying to stop, that's a publicity stunt to try to repaint back the image of what's supposed to be try to paint their image as being locked in the public's eye as they are the Indians or they are the original people of the land. Even the word Indian, I'm about to do away with all that shit. Those are colonizing terms to be exact, right? So I just stick with the original people. We are the original people of the land. I am of the descendants of the original. I am a descendant of the original people of the land, right? The Arawaks, all right, or what they will call in colonial terms the Arawaks, right? This is how you have to. You should start, in my opinion, identifying yourself. Do away with everything that has to do with the corporation. This is, you have to start mentally freeing yourself. Like, ask yourself, why do you need these people to tell you what to do? Why do you need these people to identify you? Once you did the research and you realize, you get the gist. Even if you don't find the exact goddamn tribe, so what? You get the gist that your peoples have always been here. You don't need no fucking approval from nobody but your goddamn self, and start living as such, as a free goddamn man and woman. That's it. But you need to organize. You need to have some form of an organization, some form of unity with brothers and sisters out there, that if anything, you have protection. Because people don't want people to go around to being free just like that. They're going to try everything they can to stop you. Okay? Because that means now the end of their fishing bread. Like I said, I'm not for nothing to be no politically affiliated Indian. I'm not about filling out no goddamn documentations and paperwork that take me away from the land. None of that shit. So people could say, well, it's a mindset, but they took you away from the land through the paperwork. So you could be a mindset all it want to be. They took you away from the land. Okay. That's it. This whole shit is fake. These people do this shit. They organize this shit. And if they do launch a real viral attack or disease attack, they did that. And I don't care. They could cure it 10 million times. When I'm cured and I get better, I'm coming after your ass. That's it. Because I know you put it out there, motherfucker. That's it. All right, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box. I'm also going to put all the links in the top of the chat and pin it there. Again, if you guys could donate to the GoFundMe for the West Indian Tribal Society, we'll much appreciate it. If you guys cannot, please, if you cannot, all we ask for is a 30-second to a 1-minute video. At first, I was saying sending it through Google Drive, but if you could find another means than Google Drive, right? Because I don't trust Google. To send it to, I don't trust Google Drive. If you could find other means to send it other than Google Drives, to send a 1 minute to a 30-second to a 1-minute video of you making a declaration of being indigenous to the land. If you know the exact tribe that your peoples come from, you can state their exact tribe as well. I mean, look, you don't have to give. You could give your given name, which is just one name. That's, you know. And if you also have a tribal name, if you can give your tribal name as well. Brother Starchild did send us a video, and his video is on point. He added all that stuff in like a less than a minute, pretty much. Told both sides of his parentage, ancestry, which side of Indian his mother was, this side of Indian his father was. You know, Blackfoot, Seminole, Arawak in descent. He gave all that. You see what I'm saying? Gave his tribal name and everything, and that was within a minute. And he sent me the video. I'm going to see to how he had sent me the video, and here's the email to send the videos to. All right, www.West Indian Tribal Society @gmail.com. Okay. For folks who don't trust like sending any donations through any form of digital currencies or anything like that, and you want an actual physical address to domicile or location to send it to, just email me or email here, and you will have the location sent to you to send a postal money order. All right, a postal money order. Okay. So yeah, again, everything will be in the description box as well. And I'll post it in the top of the comment section. And the platforms that are in the comments that's in the links, subscribe to those platforms. Brother Curamayo, Brother American Arawaks, Brother Lacono, Brother Copper Hot Step. Subscribe to those platforms. Also subscribe to my backup channel, y'all. Please make sure you hit subscribe on my backup channel and check to make sure that you're subscribed, because they're unsubscribing folks on both platforms now, and they're trying to sneakily do it. All right. They went back to targeting the platform all out on an all-out attack ever since I did the Atabe video and the Chronicles of Kunta Kinte Tobe, the Kunta Kinte Chronicles of Tobe. Oh man. So yeah, y'all. Again, we do this out of love for you guys, and we're trying to build something here to represent you all. If when I was setting up the because I'm building the website, right? So when I set up the video section, it hit me last night when I was looking at Brother Starchild's video, how powerful this shit is, and how a lot of folks out there would not want to see this out. How it's very powerful. That's a video public declaration. Do you know what that means? And we also have something else coming for the videos also as well. That's how we ask you guys to keep it 30 seconds to 1 minute for right now, because we have something else that we're going to work on as well. And, the videos will be out there. Okay? The videos will be out there. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You don't have to do it. Right? But don't complain that they're killing us and we're still here. Well, you have to let yourself be known that you're still here. All right? And this is public record. YouTube is a public forum, so it's public record. Okay? So that's another thing. But anyway, y'all, again, don't forget to check out the links. If you could donate to the GoFundMe, we'll much appreciate it if you could donate to the GoFundMe. The West Indian Tribal Society, and also the West Indian Tribal Society at gmail.com. Send your videos there. You got inquiries about genealogy. Send your questions of genealogy there. They also, brothers and sisters, Alex and Malkia from the Yankunkun also have a healing company called Katawud, right? If you have questions, also, you need some holistic herbal treatments. It's this West Indian Tribal Society, and we will get to you as fast as we can and answer your questions to the best we can. Okay. There goes American Arawaks. So you just missed it, bro. But there goes American Arawaks. Subscribe to his platform. You want to understand better of how to proclaim nationality, how to learn how to maneuver and operate in and outside of this system. He has some great videos on his platform. He is a member of the West Indian Tribal Society also as well. So he is one of the forerunners of the society. He has a lot of information on his platform, and it's a brother that does take his time when he can, because he's very busy, to make sure that he's able to answer your questions and get back at you guys also as well. He does not hesitate to give the proper guidance, and if he doesn't know, he does not hesitate to point you in the right direction of where you can go. Okay, so just keep in mind of that, but but know that we are here for you. It doesn't matter where in the Americas you from. Yes, we are of what they call island background, but our ancestors came from the mainland, right? So we are for all the righteous Indians of the American hemisphere, right? We also very much so encourage our indigenous brothers and sisters of the islands to make these videos, because it's important, especially the ones who are under governmental abuse right now and being targeted, and have your children and them being kidnapped right from underneath you by these pedophiles. We implore you to put these videos out there so we could put them up for you guys. All right? So that the world can know, because they're blocking you off from being known. Okay? So this is a platform that's here to push this stuff for you guys. Okay? To make sure that your voice does not go unheard. All right? It's about time. So I say F their census, and just drop your video on the West Indian Tribal Society so we can put it on our website. You know, this is what we're working. This is the part of the website that we're working on now, and we asked for more videos, man. We asked for more videos. Sister Nessa did send a video. She said she's going to rework back on it. Brother Red Clay did send a link to a video, but that was like 30 minutes, brother. 30 seconds to a video. 30 seconds to a minute for the video, please. All right. We were going to do links, but no, we don't want to put YouTube links on our platform, on our website, because people could also have access to our shit that way. So we're trying to be as safe as possible. All right. So just get, if you could get us the video, we'll much appreciate it. And we say much love to you all, peace, prosperity to you all. Check out all the links. Also, check out the Teespring store when you can as well. Again, if you don't want to send a donation through the GoFundMe, post a money order and just hit up the West Indian Tribal Society at gmail.com, and they'll give you the address, the location of where to send it, the money order to. If you don't want to do that, I do also have the Cash App on there on the DarkManX TV. I got to change the name of the Cash App. You can send the donation to the Cash App, and it will go directly for the society. All right, it's not going directly towards me. It's going for the society. Okay, so that's where it's going to go as well. So with that, I say peace, love, light to you all, and I thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being subscribers of the platform. And we learned, we grew together, we are growing together, and we've learned a lot from each other. Because don't think that you guys haven't taught me stuff too. Don't think that I do go over back my own shows and read through the chats and see sometimes y'all put some links, even though sometimes I miss it. I go over back it and I go back over y'all links that y'all put to check it out, to vet some of it stuff myself. Some of it panned out, some of it was bullshit, not gonna lie to you. Stuff that I've been knew about and dropped years ago, right? But otherwise from that, I thank you all. And again, MJG89, sis, if you are listening, reach out to me, all right? You know my email, right? Email me, all right? Email me at darkmanmedia@gmail.com. I got to try to find back the book, but I got a book that you might be interested in. All right, based off of the conversation that we was having the other day, the entire conversation got erased. Okay, like I don't want you to think that I don't agree with what you're saying. I agree with portions of what you're saying. It depends on the perspective of how you look at it, but I do have a book that you might be very much so interested in. All right, and it will help in the research of what you are doing, because you are strongly onto something. So yeah. But with that being said, I say peace, love, and light to you all. American Arawaks, honor, brother, honor. Thank you for stopping by. To everyone, the entire West Indian Tribal Society, honor to you guys. To everyone here, to the ICCC, Brother Cormeo, honor. Brother Lacono, Brother Copper Hotstep, Empress Copperfox, Sister Cherokee Toulouse, Sister Tracy Rockemore, especially Navarre, Sister T. Portier, Sister Nessa, Sister Nichelle, Brother Rain Storm, Timbuk, son of Papoose, everybody, Lade Pat, everybody, Aboriginal Gem Finder, BCFC. I know you're probably in one of these in my chats, and I need a different name. Much respect and honor to you, sis. All right, and yeah, that's it. And many more that I'm forgetting. But yeah, much love to y'all. Peace.